Hello and welcome to Indie Business Radio for Monday, April 26, 2010. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and you have arrived at the one place where we empower you to enjoy your life, build your business, and have your way. Well, I have not been excited about a radio show like this one in a long time. It's been a while since we've had an inventor on the show, someone who is actually a patent holder inventor. That's what I'm talking about. And we're going to be talking about that today with the very fantastic Julie Austin. Julie is an award-winning writer, inventor, and multiple business owner. Her patented product is called Swiggies, and those of you who follow me on Twitter know that I've been talking about Swiggies on Twitter and sending you over to that page so you can check it out. It is a wrist water bottle. So this is a doohickey that you wrap around your wrist while you're running, so you don't have to worry about getting thirsty on the run, and you know how much I love running these days. So anyway, this was a NASDAQ Product of the Year semifinalist. It is sold in 24 countries, and Julie has appeared on ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox News, and now, of course, the very fabulous Indie Business Radio, along with dozens of magazines, newspapers, and TV shows all over the world. And we have her right here to ourselves for another hour on indiebusinessradio.com, where you can click whichever window works for you to listen to the show live, and also click on the chat link so you can join the conversation and pose your questions to Julie, because I know you don't want me to hog her all to myself for a whole hour. Welcome, Julie Austin, to the show.
Thank you very much.
So your new book is called The Money Garden, How to Plant the Seeds for a Lifetime of Income. And just for those who want to know what the cover looks like, it's beautiful. There's a little patch of dirt on the ground, and there are $100 bills growing out of it. And I totally love the look of that. So, Julie, tell us a little bit about why you wrote this book. There are so many books out there about how to be successful in business. It's invent that, invent this, make money. You know, we're all just bombarded with it these days. Why did you think this book was important, Julie?
Because I started out with, like you said, the Swiggies, one product, and the market changed, the economy changed, and I didn't have a plan B. Not that they weren't selling, but they were, you know, my sales in the U.S. were down, but when the dollar dropped, the international sales went up, and I really hadn't thought about any other markets. I also hadn't thought about any other products that I could sell. So I came up with an electrolyte drink. I came up with the kids version, and also started creating other businesses. I call it, marketing wide and marketing deep. So marketing wide is creating new businesses. Marketing deep is creating other products and services within those businesses. And I think it's important because you never know what's going to happen. You know, technology changes, the economy changes, people change, and I think you need a plan B, a plan C, and, you know, be able to switch whenever you need to.
That's so important, I think, to make sure that you don't limit your options. And, Julie, do you have any thoughts on this? And I know you do because your book talks a little bit about it at the beginning. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on entrepreneurship in general. Now, based on what you just said about marketing wide and marketing deep, here's my question. Can entrepreneurship be taught? Because some people are, you know, they're either born into it, right, and their parents just sort of train them that way. Then other people have a natural tendency for it. So I'm not talking about those people. What about the people who aren't born into it and just really don't see themselves that way, have never done an entrepreneurial thing in their whole lives? Can they learn how to incorporate some of the things that you talk about and some of the things you've done into their lives?
Well, it's interesting. There was only one person in my whole entire family who was an entrepreneur, and that was my grandmother, who ran her own store. But my parents both worked for a corporation and taught me to, you know, get a job and work your way up. And so I really don't even know how I learned to be an entrepreneur. But I do think it can be taught. And if you have the passion to do it, I always recommend that people do something they enjoy, because if you don't, it's going to be work. It's going to be like pulling teeth. it's hard enough to be an entrepreneur, but if you love what you do, it's not work.
Well, and let's talk about that, because Chapter 1 of your book kind of goes to that point. It's called Finding the Seeds to Plant, and it says, what are you good at? What kinds of skills and life experiences do you have? So here's what I want to ask you about that. So many of us are good at certain things, and if we're women, we're probably good at a lot of things, right? We have hobbies, and we love to do this and that and the other. Where I see a lot of people get stuck, and I want your comments on this, is in trying to sort of narrow that down to, because you can't do it all. How do you, once you identify your passions, your talents, things that you really like, what do you do next?
Well, it's interesting. I teach a job seminar, and it's called How to Get a Job, Keep a Job, and Create a Job. And at the end, when I ask people, what would you like to do if you could create your own job, I've never met anyone who knew. So I think just narrowing it down, I'll try to talk to them and get them to just to pull it out of them, what they like to do, what they're good at, and combine those two things. And once I see them light up, like, oh, I could do that, I could make that a business, then I know I've got something.
Right, and see, isn't that the real kicker? Because most people can tell you what they like, and they'll pretty much light up over more than one thing. But that's not always something that's going to be profitable, right?
Right, exactly. How
do you avoid getting into the business of bursting bubbles?
Well, I think, not if you look at entrepreneurs who are successful, I'm sure you're going to find that a lot of them failed at something. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are plenty of things that I have failed at, and I kept trying, and it just didn't work. And, that doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It just didn't work. So I tried something different. And eventually you're gonna land on something that's going to work.
Do you find that the difference between the people who land on something that's going to work and the ones who don't, all other things being equal, are just kind of just don't hang in there long enough? I saw the quote from your one of your chapters in the book this morning by Malcolm Forbes that says a diamond is just a chunk of coal that did its job for a long time.
I definitely agree with that. I used to be an actor, and I see people come to Hollywood who say, oh, I want to be a famous actor. Well, you better give it a long, long, long time. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed through the years, the ones who just gave up, who knows? They could have been 2 weeks away from getting a TV show, but they gave up. Mm-hmm. I don't know where the fine line is between sticking in there and giving up, because I just never give up. So I don't know that I would.
There was an actor, I can't remember his name. He passed recently, and he said, one of the quotes I saw that he said was, "There are no failed or unsuccessful actors in Hollywood. There's just people who don't hang in there long enough."
That's true. I think that's true. And there are ones that make a very good living at it that you would never know their name.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. Not everybody's actually in front of the screen all the time.
Right, and just because you want to be a rock star, that's a great dream. It's a great goal. It may not happen, but there may be other things that you can do. I know of a girl who was, she's a singer, and she's very talented, wanted to be the next Britney Spears, but it never, ever happened. So she kind of changed gears. She created a kid's musical, and she's been very successful with it. So, it can still be something in your line of work, but something different.
Right. She gets to be involved in something that she's passionate about. She just put a little bit of a different spin on it than she originally planned.
Right. So, when you're talking about giving up, you just try a different angle sometimes.
So to sum this thought up, is it fair to say you assess your passions, your talents, the things that, as you said, might make you light up, and you also add into that mix what is there a market for? What will people pull out their Visa card for?
Right.
Down to its lowest common denominator.
And I don't always know what that is. Sometimes I'm very surprised that, I put something out there and I think it's going to be great and it doesn't sell. And or I tweak it and I sell it in a different market and it does do well.
And I think, Julie, that this is what scares people. It's not finding the passion or lighting up, and it may not even be, looking at the market and saying there's a demand for this and here's a reasonable price and off we go. It may be what you just said, that even if they do that, it still may not work. How do you help people assess that and move through that and keep going anyway?
Wow. Like I said, I think you have to enjoy what you do, and you have to enjoy the journey of being an entrepreneur. That's a good way to sum it up. Because if you don't enjoy being an entrepreneur and you don't like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and working till 10 o'clock at night, and you aren't just excited about it, even when it fails, I think, I don't know if it is going to be something for you.
I'm so glad that you said that because, I was listening to one of my favorite journalists moderate a panel not too long ago, Michelle Martin. She was on ABC News for many years, and now she's with NPR. And one of the things she asked a panel of people who were talking about success in life and stuff like that, because the conversation eventually went to entrepreneurship. And she said, well, what about those of us who have jobs? Are we just schmucks? What if we don't have that passion? What if we don't enjoy that creative process of failing but not calling it a failure and getting up again? I'd like for you to share your thoughts on that as well, because it's okay not to have a business, not to be an entrepreneur, right?
Right. I mean, not everyone can be. I suppose if every single person was an entrepreneur, then we wouldn't have any employees. But not every. I would say most people don't. Most people want to be safe, and if you want to be safe, honestly, I guess in this time, in these economic times with the job market, I don't know that anything is really safe. So you could say I'm going to go to college, get a job, and I'll be safe, which is what my dad always taught me, and he got laid off. So, and was kind of, after 25 years, what do I do? What do I do now?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. My parents taught me the same thing, and of course, and being African American, that was really what was required. You go to college and you find somebody to hire you. My dad never got laid off, but certainly they lived in a different time from the one we do, and jobs are not what they used to be. So do you think that it's worth it for everyone? No matter what you're doing, you may have the most solid job in the entire universe, to take a look at creating something of your own that you control.
You know what? I have, there's something that I teach in my seminar, and that is, it's called being a middleman. This is the one job everybody should have, whether you have a job, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you run 10 businesses, whatever you do. This is one thing that you can do that it's not going to take any money. It doesn't. It's not going to take that much time. And I'll give you an example of this. My friend Scott worked for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So he got to meet a lot of band members, and he got to meet, the people in all different capacity of the music business. What he found out was that when bands were looking for new band members, they would come to Scott, and Scott knew exactly who would be the perfect fit for them. So instead of them having to, audition hundreds of people, Scott just said, I've got the person for you. And he would take a finder's fee. So that is something that anybody can do, is take a cut of, bringing the buyer and the seller together.
Take a cut of the action.
For example, my dad, who works at Home Depot, I have a promotional item I said, Dad, if you get me an order, I'll give you a cut. So he's already in the store. He already talks to the people at Home Depot. Mm-hmm. All he has to do is get the order, and I send him a check.
Excellent. So, it sounds like, that creativity, that finding an opportunity that may not be obvious to everyone else or even obvious to you. It sounds like that's kind of a big part of this.
I think that successful people are the ones who see opportunities and grab them.
Okay.
I don't know how you feel about that, but,
I feel awesome about it.
Would walk right by it.
I think it's a wonderful thing that you just said, and I would imagine part of it, too, is seeing opportunities that other people just don't see. And it's amazing how many businesses start. And for example, Swiggies, I said that incorrectly. Hello, I've been running. I'm a fairly new runner, but I'm an avid runner, and I just love it. And I can't sluck my, 16-ounce water bottle around the track or up and down the trail. Swiggy. And I'm thinking, okay, how come I didn't think of that? But you did, and not only that, you moved on it, and we're going to talk about that. You can think all day long, and you can be as creative as you can possibly be, the most creative person in the world. Nothing will happen unless you get off your behind, and as you said earlier, get up 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is and make it happen. So we're talking to Julie Austin, author of The Money Garden, How to Plant the Seeds for a Lifetime of Income. We're going to come back and pick her brains some more right here on Indie Business Radio. Don't touch that mouse. We'll be right back.
Why is everyone listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com? Because it's the future of talk radio. Every day, more and more people are finding Internet radio as not just an alternative media, but as a replacement to traditional AM and FM broadcast stations. Internet radio offers a wider variety of programs, convenient on-demand listening that meets your schedule, and fewer commercial interruptions. And GlobalTalkRadio.com is already leading the way by matching this content with a highly targeted Internet audience. GlobalTalkRadio.com offers its listeners one of the widest programming varieties on the Internet, from business and finance to self-improvement, paranormal, health, literature, romance, politics, and more. There are also opportunities for prospective hosts who would like to host their own weekly or one-time talk shows. Want to learn more? Check us out at www.globaltalkradio.com and see the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. We are having a vibrant discussion today with the author of The Money Garden, How to Plant the Seeds for a Lifetime of Income. Her name is Julie Austin, and in our last segment, one of the things she said was it's not good enough to just have a great idea, although obviously you have to have that. You got to get off your rear end and make something happen. So, Julie, let's talk for a second about how we avoid becoming one of those people who comes to the Thanksgiving table every year to talk about their business idea and never gets anything done.
I hear that a lot. And it's if you're just talking about an idea, then you might as well not even have it. Because don't even waste your time. Just sit at home and watch cartoons. Because if you have an idea, a good idea, you have to do the work to get it out there, and that's, I hate to say this, 90% of it. Mm-hmm. 10% is a great idea.
Because I'm tired of the $1 million bunny slipper stories and how you can, sit at home and be a stay-at-home mom and make bazillions of dollars. So let's explore that, though, because in today's economy and in today's technologically driven society, there's no shortage of information. There's radio shows, there's books, there's all this stuff out there that can help us be successful. Do you find that people kind of get stuck collecting information and then never really get anything done, or wait so long that it's just exasperation overload and nothing ever happens?
I don't know what the problem is. And it's not money.
Do you think there's a problem?
I do think that it's risky and it's scary, and I think a lot of people just don't. They think about it and they talk about it, but actually doing it's a different story. Yeah. I wanted to make a comment about the bunny slipper story.
Okay.
Here's a dumb question, but if you could sit at home in your bunny slippers and pajamas and make enough money to pay the bills, wouldn't that be a good job?
You know, I don't know if that's a trick question or not, but I would be bored out of my mind.
But, I mean, some people, as opposed to, people thinking they're going to make millions of dollars, they may, and they may not. Mm-hmm. But even if I didn't make millions of dollars and I was, had my time to myself and I did what I wanted and I was able to pay my bills and do okay, it would be better for me than working in a cubicle. And making the same amount of money.
Good point. I love that you said that. It wasn't really a trick question, but I'm sure that a lot of our listeners fit into that category. You know what I'm wondering? I'm wondering if all of the talk about join my program so you can make millions, read my book and you can make millions, take my year-long coaching session so you can make millions, kind of makes people feel like unless they're making millions, they're not being successful at what it is they've chosen to do. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, it could be. And what is someone's definition of success?
Yeah, because I hear a lot of people say, well, or I hear a lot of people express that sort of fear that, well, it's almost like there's a I don't know if it's unspoken because we see it all the time, but there's this thing out there that says, if you're not making money hand over fist, if all you're doing is supporting yourself, paying the bills, and having an annual trip, then your business doesn't count as much as someone whose business makes a lot more money than that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're trying to sell your coaching or whatever, your program, it probably sounds a lot better to say you can sit at home in your bunny slippers and make millions.
Yeah.
Than it is to say, well, you might make enough money to pay your rent and get by. So it just sounds better.
Yeah, and I guess that's true. And I do try to balance the marketing when I read it with the notion that I like to just tell the truth. I'm not making millions.
So do I. I'm
happy. I want to get some inventor's tips from you though. But while we're here, but I just enjoy what I'm doing, and I work with people every day who have solid business plans. They're implementing them. They will probably never make millions of dollars every year, but they're leaving a legacy. They've got 401k plans. They've got money in the bank. They're enjoying their lives, and those businesses are every bit as important and vital and fun and exciting as the ones that are generating, millions a year.
Well, look at it this way. Your taxes are going to be lower.
Yeah, well, and especially coming up here with what's been happening lately. So let's talk about coming up with a lifetime of ideas. Now, you say it's possible to live the kind of life where you are just constantly coming up with new ideas so you never have a shortage of options to do what you said earlier in the show, which is, marketing wide and marketing deep. How do you do that?
Well, that's a good question. I think part of it is it's the creating part, as far as coming up with new ideas. And even though I have come up with, inventions and script ideas and everything else, I couldn't really figure out how it came to me. It was just, some divine thing that happened. But there is a way to get more ideas, and you have to open yourself up to being more creative every day, and that is you simply have to, there are a lot of different ways to immerse yourself in a topic, to keep your eyes open to what's going on in the world, what kind of things, problems. Is something a problem? How can you solve it? That's the best way to come up with an invention. And what kind of niche can you solve that's not being solved?
Mm-hmm. Good ideas and good things to think about. So when you're in tune in that way, I guess the ideas come, and I suppose sometimes we dismiss them or we really don't just focus on them long enough to allow them to, thinking about the cover of your book, actually take root.
Right, exactly.
So, Julie, what do you do if you do have an idea? Tell us the Swiggy story, and how did you go from an idea to a patent to, having your product sold in millions of places all over the world?
Well, it started out in Texas. I was running in the heat, and I had my music with me and my keys, and I didn't have anywhere to keep water, and I didn't drink enough before I left, and I ended up passing out from dehydration. And so I thought there had to be a way to carry water on my body so it's accessible. And this was actually, I came up with this idea before even the, what do they call that, the fuel belt? Before that even was on the market. So I had the idea years ago. And I just thought about, well, if I'm carrying my music, my hands are going to be occupied. So what if I had it on my wrist? Just put my wrist up to my mouth, and I would have water to drink. Mm-hmm. And that's how I came up with it. And believe it or not, I made a prototype out of clay, and I took the clay model to a mold maker who luckily got it right the first time. Mm-hmm. And from there, we just manufactured it. And the first time I manufactured it in the U.S., and I didn't even break even. Unfortunately, that is the sad part about our manufacturing, is that it has to go overseas. Mm-hmm. Unless the price is going to be so high, and with a water bottle, it just wouldn't work.
Right.
So I ended up finding a manufacturer in China, and I started out with a small bit of inventory, and I had no idea what I was doing. I just put some in a bag and went around the stores, and I ended up getting them into a few big chain stores. But what I didn't know is, how am I going to let people know they're there?
So let's back up for 1 second. Now, when you created this mold, had the prototype made, and went to get it manufactured, it didn't occur to you that it would be cheaper to do it overseas?
I had no mentors. There were no books out on the topic, and I had no idea what I was doing. I really, really wasted a lot of time and money, simply because it was trial and error.
I love that you're sharing this, because so many people, and guilty as charged, although not recently, certainly years ago, would have allowed that I don't know what I'm doing, I might make a mistake and only break even, stop them from pursuing. And this is an example of what you said at the beginning, which is it's just trying again.
I think being an entrepreneur, I don't think it's something you can really read in a book. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can learn about it, but there's nothing like just getting out and doing it and making mistakes and falling on your face and going, oh, you know what, that didn't work. Let's try something different. Oh, wow, that really worked. Let's try more of that.
Speaking of falling on your face, my friend Monique Hayward says her mother used to tell her, well, even if you fall on your face, that's about 5.5 feet more forward than you were when you started. That's a really good picture, and also a really good analogy. So once you decided to go over,
try something, even if it's stupid and it doesn't work. Just do something.
That's right. You're falling forward, so you're 5.5 feet ahead. So Julie, tell me this: what did you do to find a manufacturer? Did you know someone? Did you Google? Did you fly to China? How did you do that? I think a lot of people get stuck at that too. Where can I find somebody over there in that other country to make this for me?
Well, I found the first manufacturer at a trade show, and I just took a chance. It was a big risk. I took every bit of money I had saved up, and I sent it to Malaysia. That's where I had them manufactured the first time, and luckily I was right, and they did a good job, and they actually became one of my licensing partners, which is another thing you can do. You can either manufacture a product and sell it yourself, or you can license it outright, or you can do a combination, which is what I've done. I have people that I've licensed it to, and they just go and do their thing, like the factory in Malaysia, or I have distributors who buy straight from me, and then they do their own thing in their own country.
So your trade show was here in the U.S., and there was a manufacturer who had a booth there or something? Is that how you found them?
Right. I mean, you can, trade shows are a wealth of information.
Okay.
You can network with people at a trade show, and I highly recommend it.
Good. So you know, once you decide what it is that you have an idea for, you find out where the manufacturers and other people in that industry congregate at their annual trade show or whatever, and you make plans to go.
Right. At least that's how I did it. There are a number of ways to do it, but I met the guy face to face.
Yeah.
And I saw his booth. I saw the products that he made. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just somebody in the phone book. You know.
And he got to see your product too, right?
Right.
So he was interested. When he went back to China, he had Julie on his list.
It was Malaysia.
Wherever.
That was the first one that I had them manufactured in Malaysia.
Right. So you were in his realm. That's good.
Right, and then he did his own trade shows, and he would give me a 7% cut for whatever he sold.
Great, excellent. So lots of ways to find a manufacturer, but I love the suggestion that you made, because I'm guessing that if you pick the right trade show, not only will you find manufacturers, but you'll also find other people who have stories to tell that can help you in your journey moving forward.
Right. I was going to say that, meeting other inventors who have actually, done business in China. Well, I would suggest China because it's, and there are other countries you can have it manufactured in, but China's the best. And you meet other inventors or other people who have products, and you can pick their brain. How do you like working with your factory? Do they speak English? Do they get back to you right away?
Good. Good. Excellent suggestions, going from the idea to the prototype to the manufacturing, and then, as you said, to the ways to make the business work, the licensing, the do-it-yourself. We're going to come back after our break and talk with Julie Austin about that. She's the author of The Money Garden, How to Plant the Seeds for a Lifetime of Income. This is Indie Business Radio. We'll be right back.
Want to stay on top of what's new in the radio industry? Sign up for a free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio, available exclusively to listeners of globaltalkradio.com, and find out what's new in the world of online radio. Listeners can find out about new shows and special guests. People with something special to offer can find out how to become a guest and how to prepare for an interview. And prospective hosts will find a valuable resource for everything from planning the new program to selecting topics and guests, recouping expenses by selling advertising, and more. Sign up today for your free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio by visiting www.globaltalkradio.com and learn about the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. I'm Donna Maria, and we're talking to Julie Austin, the author of The Money Garden, How to Plant the Seeds for a Lifetime of Income. This is a fantastic, inspirational book. I highly recommend it. You will love the cover as well, but also you'll love the stories that Julie tells. She has some interesting stories. This is a woman who was not born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She put one foot in front of the other and made her ideas turn into a lifetime of income, as her book cover talks about. So, Julie, we've talked about, creating the idea, getting the prototype done, finding the manufacturer. So here we are. We got a manufacturer. We cleaned out our bank account, and our Swiggies, or whatever it is we have invented, will be here for delivery in our garage in 8 weeks. What do we do to put the plan together? What are our options to make this function so that we can move that product quickly and make some money?
Well, I'll tell you the one big mistake that I made that I can help people not to make.
Okay.
I originally thought, oh, great, I'm going to get it in Walmart and Kmart and Target and, I'm going to sell millions. It never, ever, ever worked because there's a better way to do it.
Ooh, what's the better way?
Well, the better way is to build up your brand yourself. And with the Internet, I should have done that in the first place, is to spent my time concentrating on the Internet, building up the brand. I have a distributor in the UK. That is all he does. He only does social networking. He doesn't do anything else, and he sells more than anybody. Well, I don't know how he does it. I'm not that savvy in the social networking, but he's built up a brand. He gets celebrities over there to wear them and tweet about them.
But let's talk about that then, because what you're saying is that while it's important to have a good product and it's important to figure out your business plan, how you're going to make money, you're saying that it's also important on the front end to start building the brand even before the product hits the market or is even fully developed or made yet.
Well, think about it from a retailer's point of view. Either you have, $1 million worth of advertising out there, which is either an infomercial or a commercial, which most people cannot afford, or you've built the brand up to the point that everybody knows what it is. The Croc shoe didn't have an infomercial. They started out grassroots, the same way that I'm doing it, which is getting it into little markets like the kids market or the boating market. They had nurses wearing them, and they built it up.
Good point. Good point. Just having a conversation with someone on a social network about this morning, and I'm glad that you said that. There's the mistake. Let me see if I can summarize this, because I think it's really important, because so many people need to do what you just said for budgeting reasons, if for no other reason. The mistake was not using the Internet to build a following before the products were even available at a cash register.
I mean, like I said, I went to several different chain stores. One was a drugstore chain, the other was a sporting goods chain, and I literally drove door to door, and I got them in all the stores. But then nobody knew what they were. It was so unique. Nobody knew. They didn't know to walk into that store and go, "Oh, wow, I'm looking for a wrist water bottle."
Good point. And today, certainly, you get on Facebook, and everybody's going to know what it is, even if you don't have an ad, if you work it enough, because they're going to tell all their friends about it.
Right.
Excellent point.
So that's what my guy in the UK has done, and then he's got the celebrities wearing them, and then they send out the tweets, and
Good. So you've got someone doing it for you, too, even though you're not really savvy at it yet, as you said, but you found somebody that is, and so you can leverage that without having to do it yourself.
I'm good at what I do, which is PR.
Good point. Good point.
And he's good at what he does.
Right, which is tweeting. Okay.
However he does it, I'm not that savvy yet.
but it works, right? And you
it definitely
that are helping you. You're not the Lone Ranger, and I guess that's an important part of the story too. So,
well, that is, in fact, in the book I say, as soon as you have your business up and running, then you need to not necessarily hire people, but for me it was getting distributors. Yeah. I don't pay them a salary. They just buy the product from me and do their own thing.
Yeah, some help. Very good point. So in terms of the business model, you said there were a variety of different ways that you can structure things with or without your manufacturers and other partners to make the business work. Can you share what those options are, a few of them?
Well, there's something available now that wasn't around when I started, and that's a provisional patent. If you know what that is, it's basically it gives you a year to market your product with protection, and then after that year, you have to file for a patent. But in that year, you can take your product and go around to, corporations or anyone who would buy the rights to the product. Maybe license it is a good way to do it. Since I didn't do any of that and I had no idea what I was doing, I just sort of did it myself, and then I licensed within different markets. So I have someone in the promotional market, which is logoed products, who actually I license to them.
So let's back up for a second. You mentioned patents. You talked about provisional patents. Let's talk for a second about a little bit about that patenting process. Well, first of all, in sum, what is a patent and why is it important for an invented product?
Well, having a patent doesn't mean, whether you have a patent or not, you can still sell a product. I have a friend who has 60 products that are 60 unique inventions. He doesn't have a single patent on any of them. He just goes out and sells them. So you don't have to have a patent. A patent is good if you want to license the product,
okay,
because it gives the licensor some protection.
So a patent, essentially, once it's filed and registered, gives you the ability to sort of say, I invented this, I hold a patent on it, you can't make it or reproduce it without my permission, without paying me or whatever.
Right.
Okay, so whether you have a patent or not, though, you can still, as you just said from your friend, you can still put that business plan together. So how would a provisional patent help someone who maybe didn't want to get a full patent immediately? Is it less expensive? Does it
it's
market faster?
A fraction of the price.
A fraction, okay.
It's maybe, I don't even know exactly how much, $100 or something to file it. It may not even be that much.
Mm-hmm. And that gives you
a have to do your own drawings, though.
And it gives you a year to do what?
It gives you a year to take that around and try to get someone to license your product.
Oh, I see. So then you're creating that business based on the idea, but you've got something invested in it. So when you're taking it around to people, asking for investors or loans or whatever, you've got this to show them.
You've got a year of protection, and then after that year, it's either you do something with it or you lose that right.
Excellent point. So,
and a year is not that long.
No, of course.
I actually lost the rights to something because I got the provisional patent, and I kept saying, "Oh, I'll get it done, and then I realized, oh my God, a year has gone by. So
you could start over again, though, if no one else has filed something for that invention, right?
You know what? I'm not sure.
Okay, well, that's a good thing for everyone to keep in mind, too, because you said you lost it. So either the time could run out, or I suppose you could lose it because someone else files a patent and gets a patent on it, then you can't do anything with your application because you already have it. So once you've got that, you can, as you said, your Swiggies arrive in your garage and you're off to the races, to trade shows and whatever, you're selling it yourself. And by the way, this is what you mentioned Crocs earlier. There's a company that was called Jibbitz.
Right. I know who they are.
Right, and great little story. They just had those little button things that you stick in Crocs, and they just sold them out the wazoo forever. First of all, making them out of Fimo clay in their basement, and then they literally, I don't even know if they ever got a patent, but literally 72 months into the business, Crocs came along with $1 bazillion trillion and bought them out. So,
well, see, that's because they built up a brand.
Yeah.
They built that up.
They sure did, because my kids were all over those things before Crocs had anything to do with them.
See, look, here's a great example of somebody who saw an opportunity and ran with it. And it doesn't have to be completely unique like a Swiggy's. It could be something that, someone invents something that goes on the Swiggy or in the Swiggy,
Yeah, good point, because those holes in the Crocs were just sitting there, weren't they?
Yeah. But how many people thought, something should go in there? Somebody saw that opportunity.
Yeah, well, it was the kids. The kids were like, I'm going to put my favorite flower in there. They made it out of clay and stuck it in there, and a light bulb went off in someone's head, and they were literally in their basement fashioning these things in what the owners have called assembly line fashion.
Right.
They did all the trade shows, so they did it that way. Now, you're saying there's other ways. Let's talk about one of them. You talked about what you did, which is you got your manufacturer to help out. Can you describe that relationship so we can kind of get an idea of how it might work?
With my manufacturer?
Yes.
Oh, you mean when I licensed?
Yes.
Well, this is the Singapore factory. I now have 3 factories, actually, that make Swiggies. 2 in China and 1 in Malaysia. Again, if anything happens to China, I've got a backup. Anything happens in Malaysia, I've got a backup. Anything happens with one of my factories, then I've got a backup, which I I would really recommend once you get up and running. But he manufactured the product for me and shipped it to the U.S., and then he also manufactured it himself and sold. He sold about 250,000 of them to Germany, and I got a 7% royalty on that.
Okay.
So that's an order that I never would have gotten in the first place.
Right, and you didn't have to do anything to get it. You weren't already doing.
Right.
Awesome. So let me just make sure we break this down. You send him an order. He makes 1,000 of them or whatever the number is, sends them to you, and you do whatever you want with them. But because you've licensed to him, he can make extra.
Right.
He can sell them himself and give you an accounting so you get your 7% of his sale.
Yeah, so he's taking his other sporting goods products to other trade shows anyway.
Yeah.
So he might as well have mine sitting there, and he makes money, I make money.
And that helps him build efficiencies too, right? Because he has to fire up the machines to make the Swiggies anyway. Why not make another 100,000 of them and get them out the door with all the other stuff I'm doing?
Well, luckily he's honest.
Well, that's another point. But let's just say all other things being equal, it's a win-win for everyone.
Oh, yeah. And, this is one thing about selling products. There are just so many ways. I do public speaking, and one of the things I talk about is working with your competition. So there are a million ways that everybody can make money. So that's why I really highly recommend inventors doing it themselves, because there's just so many ways you can make money.
Yeah,
the product.
Well, certainly following your story, and not only your story, but the stories that you tell in your book about other people who have done this as well, is so insightful. And not only that, just really interesting to see, the ideas that people take and transform over, a year or 2 year process, which in business world is not a very long time, into income generating, actual real income generating, not ideas, but businesses. And that's so exciting to see. So, Julie, you said that you do some public speaking. I know that even though you say that you're not savvy on the Internet, I Googled you and I found you in a lot of places. So you are connected to people who are savvy on the Internet. Tell us, Julie, where can we go to see your speaking schedule? How do we find out how we can meet you and get to know your book and your work better?
Well, the speaking schedule is on speakermatch.com.
Good.
You put my name in there, it comes up. The book is at createforcash.com. You can find Swiggies on swiggies.com, which is SWIGGIES.com. Even if you spelled any of those wrong, you'd still get to the same place.
Well, and that's another thing. Let's touch upon that really quickly before we go. You picked a name that no one else was using, that somebody put Swiggies in there, it's not going to be a billion things coming up all over the place.
Right, and I got the trademark on Swiggies.
Good. So you've combined the idea with the hard work, with the patent, with the trademark, with the business relationships of people who can help you and create win-win situations to have everything turn out beautifully. And you're so honest to say that it didn't always work the first time you did it.
Right.
Good points to share with all of us. Check Julie out on speakermatch.com if you want her speaking schedule, or maybe you want her to come speak at your event. Go to swiggies.com, SWIGGIES, to get your own wrist water bottles. So fantastic. And also, you can just Google Julie Austin or Swiggies and find those things. And createforcash.com is, of course, where Julie said that you can go to make sure that you pick up her book. So exciting to have you here, Julie. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here on Indie Business Radio today.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, you guys, we've got some great shows coming up over the course of the next few weeks. But next week, May the 3rd, I'm going to be speaking on social media at a conference in Denver. So I will not be here. The studio will be dark on that day. But I will be back the next week on May the 10th with another fantastic show for you right here on Indie Business Radio, where we are all indie all the time, 24/7. listen to my radio shows at indiebusinessradio.com. You can get them on iTunes, and, of course, you can go to my blog at indiebusinessblog.com and check the shows out there. I look forward to seeing you on Monday, May the 10th, 2010. In the meantime, enjoy your life, build your business, and have your way.
You're listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com.